Hello, this is Sasha this week with a presentation on perspective. Okay, so perspective is a pretty cool concept. Our brains are pretty good at detecting and picking up on perspective and understanding it and seeing it. It's mostly what gives us the ability to see the world in 3D. In fact, our sense of perspective is so good that whenever we see a drawing that you know you, they didn't use their perspective grid or the lines or something, we can tell. It just looks off. It just looks different. It looks bad. It doesn't look right. It doesn't look like it would exist in a 3D world. Um, and our sense of perspective is also so good, also actually, that it can be tricked um, with some perspective illusions. I'm going to show you right here. This right here is a kind of a three-dimensional perspective painting where the image was drawn on the actual walls, not on the photo, and they're drawn at such an angle on the walls that when you stand from this exact point and you look this way, you can see a box with a cross in it in the middle. Hold on, I think I have a different view on that. Yeah, right here. See, you can see this from a different angle. Just to go back and show that other one. Okay. So I just wanted to show you a couple of cool. Here. Hold on. Here's another one. Here's a couple of really good ones with perspective. This looks like somebody just superimposed the squares over the little arches. Just a neat Photoshop, but it's really painted on there meticulously and probably took a long time. I don't even know how to begin to plan something like that. Here's one that's really big, and another one where he painted a bunch of village houses, and when you look at it from a distance, it looks like there's a bunch of circles all over the place. That must have taken a long time. And that's Felice Verini, in case anybody wants to know. I'll look that up later. Another artist that is kind of cool with perspective drawings is Kurt Winter, and he makes these really huge, larger-than-life chalk paintings on the street that look like an awesome picture from one side, but are stretched when you actually look down on them. Here you can see him painting one. I have I had an example of him. You got that snail thing, a different angle. So here you got a picture of a woman sitting on a bench, and it looks like she's about to get eaten by that giant snail right there. And from this angle, here's what it looks like. So, painted right there on the ground with chalk. Probably takes hours. And he does so many too, and they're so good. Okay, well, that's enough perspective illusions and artworks and everything like that. I'm going to show two more videos. The next two videos, first one is going to be in Adobe Illustrator, and it's going to show the perspective grid and how to use it, and how to use it to your full advantage and everything. And the third video is going to show you how to use perspective. Alright, so here we are in Illustrator. I'm going to make this as quick as possible for the next two videos to avoid wasting your and my time. I'm going to open up a new image. Yeah, no, that's good enough. So Illustrator has this awesome thing called the Perspective Grid tool. You just click on it, and it'll give you this nice little grid right here, and it's got a bunch of different handles and anchors that you can use to adjust the grid. And I'm not going to go over all of them because most of them are fairly self-explanatory. The only ones I would probably cover are the some of the vanishing points for the grid and stuff like that, where the grid stops right here. See, it kind of stops in this box right here, and that's actually because Adobe Illustrator is not rendering all of the squares that are smaller than you can see with the screen. So you can adjust the grid size right here and be able to extend this way, these handles right here, if you change the grid size. And really you just go all the way over that way to have a nice contour or perspective or anything like that. And you can change the angle of it, and you can even add different perspective points. Right now we're at a 2-point perspective. Okay, we're back to where we started with. Well, the cool thing about the perspective grid is you can actually draw right on it, and it'll remember kind of where your points are, and it'll what am I trying to say here? I think it would be better just to show you. I'm not really good with words, but I am good with showing things. So let's just say you've got a rectangle that you want to draw, and normally if you turn off the perspective feature, you'll just draw a square, and I mean a rectangle, and it'll look like that. But if you select this side right here and draw the square right on the grid, it will detect that you're using a perspective, and it will draw the square right on that side of the block. Then you can click on this one and draw another square with the orange perspective grid active. Then you can activate the horizontal grid and kind of draw on the bottom of this cube behind it. And actually it shows up on the front because the way we're doing it, it gets layered and gets sent to the top. So we'll just move it back by pressing Control open bracket, or you can just go to Object and then Arrange and send backward. I'll turn off the grid. And there we've got a nice square. Now if the grid's off, we're going to be going back to just normal drawing. The cool thing about this is you can kind of layer stuff on top by using the different grids and draw really whatever you want as far as buildings go. Here I got the left grid activated, and I'm going to draw on the right side right here. And what that will do is make kind of a protruding angle here, and let's do another one here. Go back to the orange, use a different color this time, and start right here. Complete this block, and now we've got kind of a 3D effect. turn the grid back off. And there we've got kind of a 3D block protruding from this face. Now I'm just going to delete all of this and start another new project to set up a perspective drawing for Photoshop. So this time we're not going to have to be using this in Illustrator, but there's no such tool like this in Photoshop. It doesn't really exist, and they have a thing called Perspective Edit on there, which I'm going to cover, but I like to draw with a perspective grid. So what we can do is get this and line it up whatever way we're going to have. Now what I'm going to do is take a screenshot of this right here. Can't really save that like that as is. And then I'll see you over in Photoshop. Now that we've made the perspective grid and took a screenshot of it, I'll just open it up in Photoshop. And you can crop it out and use any portion of it to draw on it. All you have to do really is duplicate that layer, because this one right now is locked. The bottom layer is locked, so we'll just do. Then I can make it a little bit transparent. A little bit more. Now you can barely see it, but you can let this guide you as you paint using perspective on this. Oops. Make a new layer, and I can just kind of draw on it. Oh God, that is so bad. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm using a mouse. Let me see if my finger will work. Well, anyways, you can use this to line up your images and stuff like that. There's also another tool in Photoshop where you can use a perspective grid to line your stuff up. Let me get my picture here that I had. So we've got this road here, and it's got quite an unsightly pothole right there, and we're gonna get rid of that. So first, I always like to make a copy of that image so we're never actually destroying it. And then I'm going to go to Filter and click on Vanishing Point. And it's going to open up a dialog box right here, and then we can add we can add points on this plane right here to kind of line up where the pot. Yeah, right here looks good. Right there. And then I guess I can only see that spot right there, so we'll do this spot and then right here. So now we can kind of see this grid has formed, and we can move this over so we can edit and see where we are and kind of where the perspective falls. And on this, you can treat it just like a perspective plane in Illustrator, and you can draw on it, cover up that pothole. There we go, good as new. Just kidding. Yeah, you can also use a clone stamp tool with this, and we're gonna sample from this area right here and just kind of cover up that ugly pothole. There, that looks great. You can also add more perspective planes by clicking right here, Create Plane Tool. And if you know where you're placing your points, you can put another perspective grid that is like a straight wall up and down to this thing. And then you can draw right on that, and it'll automatically detect what you're drawing. No need to make Photoshop guess, unlike Illustrator. Alright, thanks for watching, and I hope you learned something.